This is Pete Moore on Halo Talks NYC on location, 4,000 miles from home. I have the pleasure of having my good friend for only 19 and a half years, Stephen Roma Jr. with me. The Roma family has been a big part of my life. Stephen is somewhat of a bit of a stepbrother to me, and his dad's like a stepfather, and Mary's been the one who's been almost like a second Jewish mother to me, but she can't really take any
with the good Italian sauce.
Yeah, with Italian sauce on it. She's the woman who told me never to color my hair and to be true to myself. Anyway, Steve and Mary started Workout World, which is now Jersey Strong, which started out as one club, as a somewhat of a hobby, I guess, for your mom, which has turned into the most most important independent health club chain in the state of New Jersey. And Stephen and I have been, friends and done business together since the beginning. So we've kind of seen it all. And you're always on the forefront of social media and digital and thinking about, what the best way is to operate a business. And, also at the same time running a family business, which, has its pros and cons and nuances to it. So I want to welcome you to the show. It's been a long time coming, and I want you to give your background and,
Sure. Well, thanks for having me. Fully appreciate it. Excited to be here. Yeah, my mother started the company, a bunch of years back, nearly 30 years ago. At the time, I don't know if it was so much a hobby. She's a bit of an entrepreneur, but she certainly didn't have any experience in the fitness industry.
Right.
She ran a few other businesses.
Yeah, we'll talk about those later. All interesting and innovative.
All interesting and innovative, for sure. But she started the business, and my father was working with her. He was kind of working part-time in the fitness industry because he was still managing his other business at the time. So he was coming in late in the evenings and learning the business together. And they literally had dueling desks. They sat in an office opposite one another. It was literally like a sitcom. I can remember.
It would have actually been a good sitcom at the time, but it would have been like bigger than the Kardashians. It would have been the Romas at a Point Pleasant.
Oh, totally.
That would have been
without
insane,
doubt.
actually, now I think about it.
But yeah, so my mother started it. We had one club at the time, and then, kind of grew from there. And there's, I ultimately went to school not knowing exactly what I wanted to do, but, then figured out that, fitness was going to be it. This was the family business, and let's see what we can do.
Yeah. Now, you went to school, though, in Colorado.
Yeah, I went to school in out in Westchester, Pennsylvania, and then I went to grad school for a little while out in Colorado.
But you were doing exercise physiology.
I was. I did kinesiology.
Sorry, thank you.
And then some sport and exercise psychology,
So coming back, and if we want to take people back, a little bit of a throwback, it was Workout World, and you had the dueling monkeys, was like the equivalent of my caricatures these days.
Yeah, very nice.
So how did that originally come about, actually?
Yeah, even early on, the way the company would operate is we would sit in a conference room with a few key people, and we'd be brainstorming marketing ideas. And back in the day, it was literally we had one thing to figure out: what was going to go on our direct mail that we were sending out. That was it.
The problems.
Yeah, the problems. So it was literally, what's going to be on the front of it? What's going to attract attention? And we were reading articles and flipping through magazines and, trying to put some good content into our brains to maybe, figure out what it was going to be. Ultimately landed on, babies attract attention, and so do animals. And we read this article and we said, okay, let's see. We don't think babies are going to work, but let's flip through some animal pictures. And we found these two monkeys that somehow became a mascot and became extremely memorable. So at the time, there wasn't a tremendous amount of fitness advertising in the market, and the monkeys just started to become something that everybody remembered as part of Workout World because we were on billboards and ultimately the direct mails as well.
Yeah, I remember back in the day, I remember your dad used to say, we're basically in the billboard business, and you had some guys that would give you advance notice when certain key cross sections were coming to market.
Totally. Yeah.
If you think about that, that was the equivalent of Google key AdWords, before Google.
Oh, absolutely. It was funny just even thinking back to seeing these monkeys on these billboards. Yeah. And this was when there used to be small space billboards as well. So we were able to get lots of volume, cost effective, being a lot of local markets,
I wonder if you got a case against maybe Geico, maybe like whoever the director of marketing is for Geico, like basically came up and be like, yo, those wow guys are onto something.
Animals work, apparently.
Animals work, yeah. You better pick your animal wisely. But thankfully, like, it's not a celebrity, so you don't have to worry about like a couple of monkeys getting into a DUI or like a street fight or something back in the
absolutely, yeah.
So, I mean, one of the things that you guys were always really good at was driving a lot of traffic.
Sure.
And, whether that was billboards or whether that was hype or whether that was a sales process or the people that you had. So maybe talk about how that started, how, like, that became something that you got comfortable with and saying, like, look, like, this is a volume game. Obviously, we're getting people results, so we're bringing people in. And then how you, and I talked about this probably, like, 12, 15 years ago, and you were like always like a couple of months or a couple of years ahead of like, here's what's happening next. Here's digital. Here's lead gen. Here's promotional. Here's like gift cards. Like, talk about what you do actually from like reading and work, and how you think about sales and marketing.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that's a big question, so pick whichever one you want. My bad, dude. I won't do it again.
It's all good. I early on in the business, I learned frontline sales, like mano y mano, knockdown, drag out for a $30 a month membership. And so my perspective was put out lead boxes. That's what I learned. Go do promotions. Hawk people down to fill out a lead slip and do all that fun stuff. So that's sort of what I was brought up on originally. And that process worked for a really long time. But, we would certainly do direct mail. But over time, what we sort of started to realize is that there was, I don't know if theatrics are the right word, but there's certainly something to be said for gaining some PR. The monkeys had done that for us early on. And, so my perspective on marketing sort of grew from that frontline sales experience, like what it actually took to get somebody to walk through the door. So it was very granular, it was sort of direct response from that perspective.
Yeah, was there you're a pretty humble guy, and you're not like, like Brian Mitchell as a good example. You don't like run into a room and be like, yo, bro, Roma's here, right? So like, how did you? Right, of course, because that's not who you are. But when you're in sales, like you got to make a presence.
Absolutely,
you got to make an impact. And I don't know, my significant other Kay, who we meet later.
Yeah,
she's like, Pete. Sometimes when you walk in, like it's a tornado. Sometimes it's a good storm, and most of the time it's bad. But like, how did you kind of grow the confidence? To be like, look, I am the sales guy. I'm going to sell you something. And like, how did that
I'll tell you, it's
change
interesting.
how your brain worked?
Absolutely. Early on in my career, I confronted a moment, being the son of the owners of a business, where for me, I was extremely uncomfortable. I was put into a management role at a young age and was totally looked at least from my perspective, I thought I was being looked at as, look, there's the boss's son.
Right.
What does he really know? And I wasn't overly effective, and it was really painful for me to absorb. And I was in this position that felt a lot like nepotism, because it was, and I really didn't know what to do. So I look back as that being one of the most pivotal moments in my life as it relates to business development, because I buried myself in personal development, in sales, and in marketing. So I started to listen to audio programs. I started to, I had a long ride to work. That was one thing that my folks were, probably didn't, lean on nepotism with. And I worked at the club. That was probably like the furthest one from where I lived. So I don't know if that was
purposely.
I don't know if that was purpose or it's just kind of the way things rolled out. But I had about an hour commute.
Interesting.
So good time for audio programs, but I immersed myself in it and started to learn management and leadership and sales and
ultimately marketing. Because you
used
to be, I went through this period and I was running Fitness Insight back in the day, and I needed a lot of self-help at the time because like I was running that company and writing checks for payroll. And
I remember that.
You guys were a client. You were an investor at the time.
I know.
Thankfully.
I remember you sitting in the conference room.
Oh man, it was crazy. But I always used to lean on you and be like, yo, dude, what should I read? What should I listen to? Like, give me a book, give me something, because I needed something to anchor myself on. Because I felt like I was failing.
Oh, yeah.
Even though the market wasn't helping me, there's no wind at the sail of like a internet company post 9/11.
Yeah, the perspective on what those companies were doing at that particular time was a challenging one.
Yeah. So as you kind of got more confidence, as you kind of read up on it, and look, I used to come to you and be like, you're like my resident expert. You
Yeah.
know, like I used to reach out to you, if you remember,
Sure.
back in 2002, 2003, and say,
Yep.
hey, what do you think I should do?
Yep.
Not because you were a client, not because you were my friend, because you were an expert.
I appreciate that.
Okay. So as I think back to that, when did it tip over to be like, you know what? I'm not the son of the owners.
Yeah.
I actually know what I'm talking about, and I can execute on this.
Sure. I think it happened a little bit progressively, but at the same time, again, a little bit of a moment in time, as a company, we would read leadership and marketing books together as a team, and it was basically like a book club, and we would get together on Fridays and dig through those. And, one of them was Good to Great. And, it's a, pretty historic business book. But one of the principles in that book is, to get comfortable with arguing and debating. Mm-hmm. And so for me, that was a really big moment because I kind of came to the conclusion that I like to argue and debate and I have strong opinions. And let's just figure out what the right answer is in this equation. And I'm going to argue and debate it. And if you can out-debate me as a team member, the best debater wins, basically. And,
right. And then you tested it also and got results. And if it worked, it worked. And if it didn't,
absolutely.
It didn't, right?
Absolutely. But from a confidence standpoint, it started to come more from a personal level to feel as though my beliefs, my perspective were legitimate.
Right,
and so unless we can come up with a better idea, this is the one that we're going to go with. And we'd, hash it out as a team. And like you said, ultimately put money behind it, run tests, run A/B tests, validate what was working, go through the whole gamut of, marketing success and analyzing that,
Yeah. So, when we met, I think you probably had maybe 3 clubs, I'd say is probably when we originally met.
Yeah, correct.
And then, as things evolved, we've become co-investors in other things. We've become, having cold-fired pizza, down in Point Pleasant Beach.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I've been to my first pickleball tournament, with your dad, and your mom's lectured me successfully many times. So, as things have evolved, it's been a family-owned business for a long time, and
sure,
obviously, it's not, you and I and your dad have kind of pursued some things and said, hey, maybe we should go and bring in a partner, maybe we shouldn't. And then recently, you made the switch from WOW to Jersey Strong, which I was a big advocate of.
Huge deal for us. Huge deal.
And I really think it kind of defines who you guys are as people, and also kind of how it kind of cross-pollinates with what you want to be doing and what's the right thing for the community, and also being strong is the most important thing in life, basically.
Yeah.
For your friends, family, but you got to be strong.
Absolutely. My brother is in the marketing world as well. And, one summer he and I were kind of brainstorming campaigns for the business. And we both brainstormed the idea of this tagline of keeping Jersey strong.
Yeah.
And he's being a designer, designed some billboards for us. And that became our next giant billboard campaign post the Monkeys. So we put that out there as Workout World, but the tagline was keeping Jersey strong, big and bold. And we then got some staff shirts made that had the WOW logo on them, but also had the words Jersey Strong on them. And we saw immediate response, almost visceral from the employees that they wanted these shirts. It was beyond just a staff shirt. It was can I get one for my mom? Can I get one?
A badge.
Yeah, can I get one for my brother? Right? He goes to school over here. My uncle lives in LA now. Can I send him a shirt? People really wanted it because there was a sense of pride associated with this phrase. And so it was interesting because we never really gave it much credence or, even thought that maybe it would become a name someday. We just thought it was a cool tagline.
Yeah, sure.
And it continued to grow. But then as the company evolved, it started to become more clear that maybe we wanted to explore how much more meaning this could take for us as a company. So culturally, it started to become something related to our, philanthropic efforts. So we try to, raise some money for the communities and stuff like that. And that's part of it now too.
The one thing I found really interesting, and the fact that you and your dad kind of said, look, our gut says that we should be Jersey Strong, but you paid someone to do the research.
Yeah, we spent.
Just talk about that for a second, because I don't think people fully appreciate that you can trust your gut, but also do the work, because the work is available to be done.
Absolutely,
and it's worth paying for.
Yeah, I mean, look, this was a really big, potentially very risky maneuver. It's a brand change, and it could have been poorly received. And because we were sort of already associated with this phrase, it could have backfired in a lot of areas. So for us, we actually confronted the concept of wanting to do a name change because we felt like it could be healthy from a business perspective. Forget about health clubs and gyms, just from a business perspective, with all the changes that have gone on in the industry with pricing models and different products and different exercise modalities and classes, that it could be healthy for us to do a reboot and just to get fresh eyes on us and get a lot of eyeballs at one moment in time. And so we started to take the rebranding very seriously. At this point in time, we still did not have any idea that it was potentially going to be Jersey Strong. We started to feel like maybe there was something there, but didn't give it much credence. So we went and did some research with an agency in Manhattan and said, like, look, guys, we want to do a brand change, and we don't know what it should be, and we don't know why exactly we want to do it. We have some ideas. They brought us through a full-blown, inventory questionnaire. We sat through multiple workshops.
Yep.
And ultimately, they said to us, they're like, look, you guys are crazy to think that it's not Jersey Strong. It's like so obvious to us sitting on the outside.
Yeah. It's so good that you didn't have that inclination. I mean, I said to you, my gut was like, yo, this is great. Like, it makes a lot of sense. But you guys, I was actually surprised. If I think back of it now, I'd be like, why don't you guys think that's obvious? And you had like this you had like this Chinese wall up, which is like so healthy.
Yeah.
Because I was like, guys, just do it. Like, what's the downside? And you're like, I want someone else to tell me to do it. I think I might want to do it, but I'm not telling you that I'm that passionate about it because I want to find out if I'm right first.
Yeah, for sure. Well,
it's a big deal, I think,
I think that's a good example. You bring up a good point. I think it's a good example of one of probably the biggest business lessons that I've learned from my father. He's very good at separating the logic and the emotion from his decision making, and just the way he goes about life and business in general. He's really, really good at that. And so when it comes time to make decisions, we're all very particular about the process we go through and the state of mind we're in when we make those decisions.
That's great. That's great.
So we try not to get sucked in. So what we were really cautious against was we were very emotionally attached and connected to Jersey Strong, and we wanted to make sure, as we would say in our conference room, don't believe your own bullshit.
Right,
this is
you're allowed to curse on the podcast.
Yeah,
by the
we
way.
could do that. It's full blown. So for us, that's what we were guarding ourselves against.
Yeah.
We wanted to make sure we got a lot of third parties, a lot of people who were close to it, who knew of it, a lot of people who knew nothing of it. We spent a good deal of money on surveys, both to the general New Jersey population, as well as to our membership base, as well as live surveys and interviews. I mean, we did a ton of research to validate the fact that this was the right move.
The one thing I like about how you guys approached it, which now that you tell me that, it's deliberate. Like, if I go into an ad agency and I say to them, hey, I want to do like Halo talks, and I want it to be this way. They're gonna do it the way I want them to do it because they want to please the client, right?
Correct.
So you guys kind of went into this and being like, look, I don't know if I want to do this. I'm not really passionate about it. You tell me what the answer is.
Correct.
Which is strategic, not emotionally driven.
Correct. Look, if we wanted to hire a high-priced ad agency to just design a new logo for us and put together a branding deck, I mean, we could do that. We explored those options, but ultimately we came back to what's the decision we're trying to make here, and is it the correct decision?
Right.
You know what I mean? So we needed to get past go. Literally, we were probably 75% of the way through their process, and they still hadn't convinced us. So for them, it was a very interesting dynamic, to your point, because
you were sending me stuff along the way too.
They were selling us the whole time.
Right. But you were already like emotionally sold.
We wanted it to add up.
Right.
But to them, they had to re-educate and resell us on it every meeting.
I mean, I think it's a great lesson for people to think strategically about vendor relationships, partner relationships, even going into a deal. There was a guy who runs a very big health club chain. As an aside story here, and he said, I will never meet the owner of a business that I want to buy. Never meet him. And I'm like, well, why not? Like, don't you want to learn like how these guys think? I'm like, nope, I don't want to learn. Other people can learn. I want to look at whether it makes sense for me, because that guy's not going to be, or that woman's not going to be part of this business. So I'm looking at, I'm doing an asset deal.
Sure.
I'm not doing a relationship deal. If I meet them, it's going to cloud the way I'm going to make this decision, which is really interesting.
Yeah.
If you want to do a partner deal, it's all about who the partner is. If you want to do an asset deal, it's all about the asset.
Yeah. Anything that enters the equation can cloud it, for sure.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So you basically, I think people should, takeaway here should be treat your vendors or treat your advisors as if you are not swayed by anything that they are going to tell you, and don't give them the ability to like lead on into what you're thinking, because it's going to cloud what you get back.
Look, yeah, I mean, there's no doubt about it. Certainly from a negotiating
big deal.
standpoint, in a lot of different scenarios, any information that you divulge, you can only expect is going to be used in some way, in the art of this deal, right? 100%.
Yeah. So, as you think forward, about the business, the name change went well.
Sure.
It kind of had a nice jumping off point where like Workout World kind of was already associated with Jersey Strong. And
Yes.
It was like synonymous. And used to have the Jersey Strong, magnets on the back, right?
And we still have them. I mean, we've probably given out at this point probably 500,000 of them.
Yeah. The interesting thing is, because I do have a lot of people that I know that live in Jersey beside you guys.
Sure.
And they'd be like, I'd say Jersey Strong, and they'd say, oh, Workout World. Or I'd say, hey, Workout World, and they'd say, oh, Jersey Strong.
Yeah.
So like it was already kind of like name association, and it just kind of flipped.
Yep.
So as you think about, running the business, and you think about, maybe talk a little bit about your current family, and not your parents, but like your by moving to Louisiana and commuting back and forth, and then thinking about, okay, what is where does Jersey Strong go down the road, and where it fits into people getting healthy and getting people results in the state where you're from.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, we're born and bred in in Jersey. Been there for we started the business 30 years ago, like I said. Yeah. So, I mean, it's been an exciting journey so far for us. The evolution of, I think for me, myself personally, with my family and ultimately role in the business and stuff, has been just an awesome ride, surrounded by awesome people. I mean, literally, we have a super strong team, committed, deep roots, been with us for many, many years. I mean, it's the culture that really allows us to kind of operate.
Yeah.
Currently I live in Louisiana. That's where my wife is from, so we decided to relocate the family down there.
She spent enough time in Jersey, right? So you got to give back, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, she was
Quid pro quo
she was there for a good 16 years. So it was good. We have 4 kids. Our oldest is 11, and our youngest is about to be 6 next week. So we got our hands full. 1 girl and 3 boys. So baseball practices, dance recitals, football games, and the whole 9 yards. Doesn't stop. And then as it relates to the business, my role in the business, CEO, I do a ton of driving the marketing. That's really the cornerstone that I occupy and push forward on. Certainly operations are a key ingredient as well. But in terms of, day-to-day operationally and really being involved in the business, for me, it's all, probably, I'd say 75% of it is remote. And we do it through video conferencing, and I have my morning meetings with my team, and we kind of dive into it. But one of the things, I was just talking with Brian Mitchell about this before, one of the big values that I've seen, and I think the team has seen as well, with me being slightly removed from the day-to-day operations, is it actually has enabled me, as it relates to my role, to focus more on what's important. To your point earlier, I'm slightly less emotionally attached to the weeds of what's going on at any given moment. And I have a bit more clarity to kind of help guide things accordingly, maybe ask questions that wouldn't be as obvious if I were in it, on a day-to-day, moment-to-moment. But don't get me wrong, working 10-hour days, just doing it from a different place and having video conference calls. So I'm fully in it. I'm just not, bopping through the corporate office.
Well, I mean, Charlie from Charlie's Angels was about the most effective,
there we go.
They
solved a lot of crimes.
Yeah, pretty much I don't think there's one unsolved crime in all of Charlie's Angels, as far as I know. But, as you look at going forward here, in closing, Jersey Strong, your amenity set, your people, your culture, you got the PT, you got the Group X. You guys have a formidable position in the market in New Jersey, and maybe just in closing, talk about where your position is, why you feel that position really is, a moat. Because I got a Planet Fitness, which could be a nice little laundromat that opens up, and they'll take members, but they might even feed more in over time.
Yep.
And I got these boutiques that good luck trying to market against the Jersey Strong brand.
Yeah.
And you might be around, and you might be a little manual weapon of mass destruction for a couple of years, but I got a business, been around for 30 years. We're going to be around for another 30 years if we choose to stay independent. And we got the right team in place to execute.
I think it's been the industry's gone through a lot over the past call it 10 or 12 years. We've had this kind of Planet Fitness low price phenomena kind of hit hit the industry, which sort of threw everybody on their ear at first. And then, of course, over most recent times, we've had, these boutiques that are offering, a very experience-oriented product in a very, localized, community-oriented, typically embedded in a community in locations that health clubs can't get into. And they're charging higher prices, and they're offering more, I'll say, a more intense experience, right? Refined. So, for us, we've been evolving and absorbing all of that, the changing dynamics in the industry. And so that's evolved our product, not only the way that we look at it, but ultimately the actual physical product that we deliver to the customer.
Right.
So for us, it was very early on, we got onto the personal training bandwagon. So we understood we needed to sell memberships. Key ingredient to the entire business model, you got to sell a bunch of them. The secondary revenue stream was personal training. So for a very long time, we'd been doing personal training, but there was always this missing gap in between. And the boutiques really kind of leveraged that and took advantage of that opportunity,
right.
But clubs never really figured it out. And I think once we realized that there was this concept of sort of one-to-many, which was kind of like our, group experience, and there was this one-on-one, well, where does the one-to-few fit? Like, is that a part of the product? Mm-hmm. And so we incorporated that element to the product and now ultimately have kind of...
Lab?
Yeah, so we have like 3 different, call it 4 different paths someone can really go on, and it's really a combination of any one of them, but it's, hey, come on in, big club, beautiful club, pretty club, friendly people, all that great stuff.
Right.
Do it on your own. You can hop into a large group training class, which, will have, 40, 50, 100 people in it. You can go into a small studio class, which is our X Labs program, which we've got, 7 different programs of, you'll have maybe 6 to 20 people in those rooms. And then we have our one-on-one personal training. And that's kind of like our suite. So in terms of feeling like, do we have a moat around us to a certain extent? I think from a product standpoint, we've, I don't know of too many other modalities that are going to be able to come out. I think it really comes down to the type of guidance you receive and what the ratio is between the practitioner and ultimately, the kind of leader of that parade. So how many participants are there to one instructor or one trainer?
Sure. Sure. And I guess part of that's going to be for you to figure out from a marketing standpoint, like, how do I tell everyone in a short amount of time everything that you could do inside of here that's actually best in class?
Yeah, totally.
Right. So, look, it's great talking to you. Obviously, we've been friends for a long time and
good
confidants
stuff.
And, mentor, mentoree, whatever relationship, whatever the...
Fantastic.
If it's financial, I'm helping you. If it's marketing, you're helping me. And we're kind of meeting somewhere in the middle all the time. So, congrats on the success. I'm glad things worked out with the, remotely running the business and then being in the ground all the time and when you need to be. And, mad respect for the Roma family. And, look forward to working with you guys.
Can't
as
wait.
often as possible.
It's good stuff.
All right, baby.
Yeah,
good to see you.
Great. Thanks, Pete. Thank you.